Anzac Day, for me, it's not just that day of remembrance and honouring them, but it's also that those families and the suffering and trauma that continues every single day for the rest of our lives.
It's always been an important day. It became something different having a spouse in the army, and then it became something different becoming a widow, I guess. One of the most lonely experiences that you can have is having people packed everywhere, and then he's still not there.
It's a sad day for war widows Brianna Till and Gwen Cherney, but it also brings back precious memories of the men they love.
Brett had this ear-to-ear smile that kind of lit up anyone around him, and you could just hear his bellowing laugh, and you can still hear it, I guess, now. And I guess watching the kids grow, I get the opportunity to still see little snippets of him in them, which is beautiful. But he was JT. Like he was beautiful. He was kind. He loved his kids. Like he loved his mates. He was just a nice person.
Brett Till joined the army in 2001.
He wanted to be able to make a life for his kids and, you know, for them to be proud of him, and I think he's done that. But his job wasn't a job, it was his life, I guess, and it became his life in the end.
In 2009, Sergeant Brett Till was deployed to Afghanistan as a bomb disposal technician. It was a crucial but dangerous role, with many casualties caused by improvised explosive devices or IEDs.
It wasn't long into it that we had a chat, and I sort of had realised that he was about to head out on mission, and in that chat managed to let him know that we were successful with a pregnancy, which was awesome that we managed to have that conversation.
That was the last time Bree spoke to the father of her unborn child.
They were out and he was clearing an IED, which was his job, and what actually happened, I guess no one really knows, because the nature of the job is it's just you and it, and well, at the end of the day, I guess the path was cleared, and then so he died. The next bit was, I guess, the knock on the door and the instant adulthood that came with that, with learning how to ride the roller coaster.
Brett will not be forgotten by the regiment and the Corps, and his passing will serve as a constant reminder to us all of the importance of our mission and will strengthen our resolve to complete it.
As a family, when you talk about Brett, what are those conversations like?
The memories that they have is the best that we can share, and for Ziggy to have not had the chance to meet his dad, I guess, is a little bit tricky, but we've managed to create, you know, this space of memories without having them. We talk about, you know, what we can remember.
I met my husband in 2008. He was a protector, he was a carer, and very lovable. Ultimately, he was very rough around the edges, but a very soft teddy bear inside.
And how about at home? What kind of dad was he?
adoring. He was, he'd walk into the bathroom when I was yelling at the kids at bath time and say, "Hand in your smiles, the fun police are here," and take over for me and make sure that the kids felt that love and joy.
Gwen's husband, Peter Caife, had joined the army at the age of 17.
There was nothing that brought him more joy or pride or allowed him to fulfill his need to serve and have duty and honor in his life like being in the military.
In March 2016, Sergeant Peter Caife suffered a stroke while serving with the 2nd Commando Regiment in Iraq. Recovering back in Australia, he struggled.
He was not coping. He was afraid that the Army was going to sideline him and eventually show him the door, and his career would be over. And because his career was so wrapped up in his identity, he struggled with the idea of doing something else and what that would mean for him.
Gwen was frightened by the changes she saw in her husband.
When he felt out of control, the top would sort of blow. And if we were there, I was that target. And we had an argument about the way he was treating the kids, and I could just see him unravel. His eyes became vacant, and we had to leave. I left on the Friday. I asked Pete to get the support he needed so that we would be okay. He played golf with some of his friends that weekend, and then we lost him on Monday. I was devastated. I fell in a heap on the floor and don't think I really remember much about that first week. I had known he had suicidal thoughts, and they were not infrequent. I thought we had gotten over most of them. I wish that the Army had been more accessible to me. As a carer, I was given no formal information about how to care for my husband who was sick. And he came home with a stroke. So ultimately, unless we're engaging with families, we're not taking care of the serving member. My son is in the Army now, and so I would like to have a better, more supportive defense family support services for him in the future.
Having heard what happened to Pete, it's fresh every time, and every time you hear about another death, a little bit sort of breaks.
Bree Till was one of the first members of the War Widows Guild to reach out to Gwen.
With Gwen, I had known that she didn't necessarily have family nearby, and so I guess I just wanted to make sure that she had what she needed, and to, I guess, try and identify what that might be. You often get told anything you need, just let me know, but it can be quite difficult to know what you need.
I'll text her at 6 o'clock in the morning and say, "Is this a thing?" And she writes back, yes, that's a thing, and you can get through it. It's terrible, but it's just another thing. The paperwork nightmare you go through, and the empty bed next to you, and the 5 seconds when you wake up in the morning and he's still there until you remember he's not, is shared. And I'm not alone in that.
Do you think women whose husbands didn't die in the field are treated differently?
I had sensed it in the past. I'd actually spoken with a group of women whose spouses had died in different circumstances, and there was a difference, not just in the experiences, but also, I guess, how they felt received at the same time, and that didn't really make too much sense to me.
I felt as though I would be seen as someone who didn't belong because my husband didn't die in combat or in training. And when I shared with them that my husband had suicided in our home, their hearts broke for me. They opened their arms, they wrapped a blanket of love around me and showed me that I belonged there. But I even had an interaction yesterday where I shared with someone that my husband suicided, and her face changed. And you could tell it was like, well, that doesn't really count. And it was quite cold and painful.
It's a thing that people feel and that people go through and stuff. So, yeah.
Gwen Cherney and other war widows are working hard to make sure that those who join their sad ranks are supported and don't need to ask for help.
I'm working tirelessly to make sure that our families have more access, have more support, and know exactly what the services are that are provided to them. We have to pick up and keep going, and that every member that leaves us leaves a wake of broken humans, friends, family, and, children.
We've been marching with Legacy for every year since Brett's death. Today I'm marching with some of the strongest women I've ever met, and it's important for us to do that, to make sure that we are available for each other and we continue to back each other up.
We're marching with other widows who've lost their husbands in combat, in training, and to suicide. We are marching with our children, and it's nice to be surrounded by that love and support on a day where we not only remember but grieve their loss.